Hey, what's going on? So today I'll break down my build for this 100 mile an hour slash. All right. So just so you know, I've spent like close to, probably close to like $1,500 everything that I did to the slash, but I didn't need all of that. So I pretty much wasted a lot of money. I'll put it to you like this. Trying to get this slash up to 100 miles an hour gave me enough parts to pretty much like put right into my limitless. It also gave me enough parts to when I had my Fortec and I was running that, all those parts came from what I invested into this slash. The slash, it is simple, but it's my favorite. I think it's because like we've spent so much time together. I've been working on this since like this is my day one pretty much, other than the shredder. So I went from the shredder straight to this slash. But the way I have it set up now is is so simple, and I wasted so much money. I didn't understand like amperage and gearing. I was pretty much before I was building it how everyone else online was building it, and they back then when I first started, like the ratio everyone wanted to get to was the 1 to 1. So it'll be 34 to pinion and a 34 to spur gear. That's what everyone was striving for, and it didn't work for me. It was pulling too much amperage, and what would happen with me is these connectors, because of all the amperage I was trying to push through, like the motor I had, which was the wrong size for that. It was too little motor to push that much gear. So these would desolder. I'd lose power, run into the curb, flip over, and I was like, "What the hell's going on? I have no idea why it's doing that. Oh, I'm doing everything that everyone else said," and that's what my problem was. Instead of figuring out my own course of action, I was trying to follow other people. So my video is not necessarily to tell you what to do, but it's to give you a baseline so you don't spend like $1,000 on a $200 car to get it to where you want it to be. So with that being said, my setup now, um, my steering servo, I got that off of Amazon. I want to say it was like 20 bucks. It has the metal gearing inside. It's never stripped or anything like that. I upgraded my servo, my steering servo to one of the it's a better one than stock. This steering servo inside here, or whatever it's called, you don't need it. You could just leave it stock. There is no difference as far as performance goes between this one and a stock one. The only reason I have this in here now is because it's what I had on hand. Like I said, I have plenty of parts on hand. This is what I had, so this is what I threw on. I had a gray one before when I ran it. What ended up happening, because like this since I have no weights on the vehicle, it will do wheelies. Like if you goose it, it'll pop up all day. But I guess I was running it. I had a 4S battery in there. 4S would get you 80 miles an hour with this setup. And it popped up. It ended up flipping over. And the metal, I'm sorry, the plastic inside there where the motor connects to the chassis, it ended up breaking. So got on Amazon, and they had this one up there. It was like $16, $17. And I just got it. I like the way it looks black. Now that's the thing with these speed builds. You want it to be, or at least me, I'm good with 100 miles an hour, but I also want reliability. That's the key for me. It has to be reliable. If I break a part, I want to be able to go get that part and not spend like $100 for another chassis. The one of the chassis I used in the past, I have the low CG one. It's okay, but my personal preference is the high CG one. With the way I have it set up, it'll flip over every now and then, but I don't know if you can see how low it is. The center of gravity is pretty low. There's not much room between it. So it's still good. The reason I like the high CG one over the low CG chassis is because if I throw on bigger tires, I can still take this off-road just set up how it is. I don't need to like increase the suspension linkage or the shocks. I don't have to put bigger shocks on to take it off-road. That's a positive for me because my kids, they have slashes too, so I just take it off-road and run around with them. So I've talked about the steering servo and everything that goes with that. Stock is fine for speed runs. You can spend money on that stuff if you want. It's all about personal preference. As far as tires go, and I'm a fan of GRP stuff, GRP tires. I like them. S3, S5, any of those are gonna work. You can even do ones if you're doing drag racing and all that stuff. You need that grip. But for me, on this build, I've used threes. The only reason I have S3s on this is because they were what I used on the Limitless. So I just transferred them over here once I got better ones for my Limitless. I think on the Limitless I have S5s right now. It was summertime. Now, as far as the shock tower I used, this is a crucial piece in the build. It's by CCS. Yeah, they earned a spot on my cover, CCS. I'm gonna pull it up here. This is what it looks like on eBay, and it is worth the money. That's the game changer. Before I would have to, with the regular shocks, I would zip tie it, put a zip tie going from here up here, and compress it. It works, but this is far better. As far as the shocks that I use, I pulled them off of my Fortec. I'm not using the Fortec anymore, so I just pulled the shocks off of there. The front ones went in the front, and the rear ones went in the back. And I like the way it handles as it is now. So if you have to get anything, like I said, this is necessary. The CCS shock towers. It's only $39. It's a good investment. The receiver I'm using, I have the Fly Sky Noble 4. This is just the long range version of their receiver. And it's $30 for that. Now, let me see. Proline, I use Proline, the body mounts. Those are great. They clip on, clip off, or screw on, screw off. You can't beat that. It keeps everything stable. This is another mod that I did. You can do it if you want. Since you're using bigger batteries, the issue is going to come with, well, how do I secure the battery? So what I did was use a wheel hub screw. And then I want to say this is 4 millimeters. I ended up cutting the bolt head off, and I hooked the drill up here and just screwed that down in. And for me, it works perfectly with this wheel hub nut. Now, as far as my ESC goes, I use the Firma, the Spectrum ESCs, and I've had what's it called, the monster ones, the Mambas and all that stuff in the past. But what I found is the Mamba monsters, they're like horses. They're gonna run until they die. Now the Firma stuff is more like like a dog. It's gonna run. It's gonna go hard for you, but when it gets to that point where it's like, oh, I'm tired, it's gonna slow down so it doesn't break. And that's what I like. I'm like I said, I'm more about reliability than breaking speed records. Cause I'm at Raz, that dude's running. I think he just ran like 192 miles an hour. I'm not gonna catch him with this build. But my thing is, if I want to go out and ride, if I want to ride hard, I want it to be like the entire pack. I don't want to just do a run or two. I like going like all out. So if I throw, like I said, if I 3S is going to get me up to like 60 miles an hour with this setup. 4S is going to do 80, but it's going to do 80 like the entire pack. And there's not going to be any ESC shutting down. The motor's not going to run hot. So that's perfect for my build, how I like to drive. And honestly, when you're doing speed runs and stuff, you cater it towards what you like. Like for me, 100 is great. For you, 100 is slow. It's all up to you. Now, let me see. So the ESC that I'm using, I'm gonna pull it up here. I got it off of eBay. It's from an Arma Felony 6S. This guy, JRC, he sold it to me. But when I bought it, it was $79. And the reason I got it is he pulled it, I'm assuming he pulled it out of maybe another vehicle, used it for a speed build or something like that. And he upgraded probably to a Castle system or something. But $79 for 150 amp ESC that normally comes in the Felony and stuff like that. That's a win for me because I mean, off the shelf, those things are going for twice that much. So that's $80. Which you don't have to have a 6S system. It just depends on how fast you want to go. You could probably hit 100 on 4S, but if you have a 4S ESC by Spectrum, it's going to be tough because, like I said, once the amperage gets too much, it's going to shut it down. And with me, I have the 4S ESC as well. It'll probably get up to like 90, but anything past 90, it has issues. Like not issues, but it'll shut down. And I don't know if it's based on RPMs or if it's based on the amperage. I'm not sure how Spectrum actually does that. Talked about the tires, talked about the shocks. This front bumper, it's an RPM bumper. I think it's made for maybe the Bandit. It's a Bandit bumper, but it fits on here and it fits perfectly underneath my cover. And like I said, it's a simple build. The shock tower that I'm using in the back, well, you already saw this. I said this is CCS. They make it. And I used a metal one here. The only reason I used the metal one is because I had the plastic one before, but like I said, I'll run this off in the grass and stuff like that. I'll do some jumps with it. And because the suspension is so low, I needed a sturdier tower to prevent it from breaking, because I had the plastic ones and it did break. Now the motor I'm using, I'll pull it up. This is it. So it's a Leopard 3674, 3200s, 3270 kV motor. And this thing is a monster. It's rated for up to 5S. I want to say the power it puts out, the wattage is, max wattage is going to be 2400. So that's really beast mode. It's close to what, 5 horsepower. I think it's what, 700 and some change to equal 1 horsepower. So it's a beast. I run it on 6S. It doesn't, because of the gearing I'm using, it doesn't heat up. It doesn't do anything crazy, and it handles it. Like I said, it's a 36 diameter canister. The good thing about that is you can use the stock, what's this called? It'll come to me. Well, maybe it won't. Well, this can be stock, and you can still adjust it depending on how big of a pinion gear you want to use. Now, as far as my gearing, I'm using, right now, currently, what I ran to do 100, it was a 17-tooth pinion and a 40-tooth spur gear. Now, what I'm going to do in the future is I'm going to try a 20-tooth spur gear, and I'm going to try to hit 100 with 4S by using 6S. So to do that, I'm going to have to put a 22-tooth pinion gear on here, and I'll see how it runs. Hopefully it doesn't make the ESC shut down. It shouldn't, but we'll have to see. Another thing that I highly recommend is, I think this is by Hot Racing. I don't know if you can see it in there, but the slipper clutch. Get that one that's upgraded. Instead of it being the 3 separate little brake pads, it's a complete circle of brake pads. And you do need a slipper clutch with this transmission. If you leave it stock, you're going to need a slipper clutch. If you go get the Super Mod 1 racer thing that, what is it called? Fast Line or whatever that they make, you're still gonna need it, because I bought that. And like I said, I spent a lot of money on this thing. So I did, and I had the Superman emblem on it. I ran it without the slipper clutch. I just had the slipper clutch eliminator on it, and it ended up stripping the gear inside of there. And they suck with their customer service. I told them it happened because it was supposed to be under warranty. They never got back to me. I called them and left messages. They never got back to me. So then I was like, fuck it. Had this one here. I just threw it on. And I was like, hey, we'll just go till it breaks. And it hasn't broken yet. As far as the drive line, in the past I've been running the MIPs, but the issue with that is they're great. Don't get me wrong, they're great. But for my setup and the way I do things, it didn't work well, because instead of it having the little pin that goes through, it has an Allen key. You pretty much have to cinch it down. So for me, it was causing issues with the tire and the wheel hub, like welding together. I didn't like that. So I went with the heavy duty ones. I'll pull them up here. Amen. It's $10 a piece, and they're good for me. I like them. They've handled 100 multiple times. They handle wheelies. They handle anything I could throw at it. They've handled it. So, And like I said, this is simple. We're keeping the build simple so that if something does break, it's easy to replace. I think that covers everything. You're probably wondering why I have duct tape here. I went to run it, and I forgot to bring a jumper to pretty much make it so I can run it on one battery. And it took me, it's like a 30-minute drive to go back home. So I was like, hey, I'm just cut it off. So cut it and threw some duct tape on it and kept it moving. What else? Honestly, I think that's it. 20 minutes into the video. It's supposed to be short, right? But yeah, if you're gonna mount your ESC on here, how I did, you're gonna have to cut off one of the mounting brackets, and then the other one will screw right into a hole that's there. It's like it's perfect. But that's pretty much my build. I have a fan on here, but really it doesn't need a fan. I had it laying around, so I threw it on. Oh, you're probably wondering why I have this bumper on the back. Well, it holds my speedometer or my GPS, and I could just, mount it up here in the front as well, but it was here, so I put it on. But without that, if it does wheelies or flips, because you're gonna crash at, or not necessarily crash, but shit happens. And you can see how it has started to scrape my motor. So to prevent that from happening, I just threw the bumper on. You can see how, yeah, like I said, it'll wheelie. It'll do it. This thing is a slash in all nature. It's durable, but it's also fast. Oh, it's been a while since I wanted to make this video, and I have completed it. I think I've talked about everything that's necessary, and I've gone over all the major parts that I used. Like I said, it's pretty much a stock build, just with a good power system. If you have questions, let me know. Sorry it took so long to make, and sorry that it was so long.